Before we write any code, let's understand why variables matter. Every JavaScript application, from a simple calculator to YouTube or Netflix, stores information in variables. Usernames, shopping carts, notifications, API responses, and AI chat history all begin as variables. This concept is used in React, Next.js, Vue, Angular, and Node.js. It's also one of the most common topics in JavaScript interviews. Today we'll learn how JavaScript stores data in memory, why variables behave the way they do, and how understanding this helps you debug real applications. Let's work like professional developers. Create a folder called Variables Memory Demo and open it in VS Code. Add 3 files, index.html, style.css, and app.js. Open the project in Google Chrome and keep Chrome DevTools open. We'll use the console and sources panel throughout this lesson. We'll use a simple user profile viewer to learn each concept instead of isolated examples. As we build it, you'll see how JavaScript stores and updates data behind the scenes. A variable is a name that lets JavaScript access data stored in memory. Instead of remembering memory addresses, we simply use variable names. Let's create our first variable. JavaScript stores the string in memory and connects it to the variable name username. Variables become useful because their values can change. JavaScript updates the value while the variable name stays the same. Think of memory as a large apartment building. Every piece of data has its own room, and variables are simply labels that point to those rooms. This mental model will help explain many JavaScript behaviors later in the course. Modern JavaScript mainly uses let and const. Variables declared with let can be reassigned. Variables declared with const cannot. Errors are part of programming. The key is learning how to read them. This error clearly tells us we're trying to reassign a constant. Professional developers always read the error before changing the code. A common interview question is, what's the difference between let and const? A good answer is that let allows reassignment, while const prevents reassignment of the variable itself. You'll build on this answer when we discuss objects later in the course. Great job! You now understand how JavaScript stores data, how variables reference that data, and when to use let and const. In the next part, we'll explore one of JavaScript's most confusing features, hoisting. Once you understand it, many common bugs will suddenly make sense. If you're enjoying the course, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next lesson. Also, let me know in the comments, do you use let or const more often and why? Now we're going one step deeper to understand one of JavaScript's most misunderstood features, hoisting. Many developers think JavaScript reads code from top to bottom and executes it immediately. That's only part of the story. Before execution begins, JavaScript first scans your code and prepares variables and functions. This preparation phase is what we call hoisting. Understanding these two phases makes many confusing errors easy to explain. Every time JavaScript runs a script or a function, it creates an execution context. During the creation phase, JavaScript registers variables and functions. During the execution phase, it runs your code line by line. Keep these two phases in mind. They explain everything we'll see next. Let's see what happens with var. JavaScript knows the variable exists, but it hasn't assigned the value yet. This behavior often causes unexpected bugs in older JavaScript code. Now let's replace var with let. Unlike var, let cannot be accessed before its declaration. This happens because the variable is inside the temporal dead zone, or TDZ. The temporal dead zone is the time between entering a scope and declaring the variable. During this period, the variable exists but cannot be accessed. Once JavaScript reaches the declaration, the variable becomes available. Const behaves like let when it comes to hoisting. It is also protected by the temporal dead zone. Functions behave differently. Function declarations are fully available before execution reaches them. That's why calling this function before its declaration works. Now let's use a function expression instead. Here, the variable follows the rules of const, so it isn't available before its declaration. When you see an error like cannot access before initialization, check the order of your code first. Add a breakpoint before the declaration and inspect the scope panel. You'll notice the variable hasn't been initialized yet. This is a fast way to confirm a hoisting-related bug. Frameworks like React and Next.js rely on these same JavaScript rules. Understanding hoisting helps you avoid initialization errors in components, modules, and utility functions. Hoisting doesn't make your application faster, but writing variables close to where they're used makes your code easier to read and maintain. Clear code is easier to debug, review, and extend as your projects grow. Interviewers often ask, explain hoisting in JavaScript. A strong answer is, JavaScript registers variables and functions during the creation phase before executing the code. Var is initialized as undefined, while let and const remain in the temporal dead zone until their declarations are reached. Explaining the execution context and TDZ demonstrates a deeper understanding than simply saying JavaScript moves variables to the top. Congratulations, you now understand why JavaScript behaves the way it does with variables and hoisting. You can explain var, let, const, hoisting, the temporal dead zone, and function hoisting with confidence. These are core concepts used every day in front-end frameworks, back-end applications, and technical interviews. In the next episode, we'll explore JavaScript data types and type coercion, where we'll uncover why JavaScript sometimes gives results that seem impossible. If this lesson helped you understand JavaScript more clearly, subscribe and continue the series. Each lesson builds directly on the previous one. And let me know in the comments, which JavaScript behavior confused you the most before this lesson? Var, let, const, or hoisting?